dancing shoes.
Now give me your best shot.
That's entertainment.
From mamamia.com.au, here she is, Emma Gillespie.
Good morning. How are we?
Very well. And it was very distressing to hear of the abuse that Stan Grant has been subjected to since he spoke about the Queen's funeral and how the ABC covered that from an Indigenous point of view. And then he was on the ABC as a guest for the coronation, and he's been vilified for that. And not just vilified because as a journalist, vilified as an Indigenous man.
Yeah, so Friday afternoon, the ABC published an essay from Stan Grant announcing that he's quitting, he's stepping back. Tonight, as host of Q&A, will be his last. We don't know how long he's stepping back from the spotlight for, but it was headlined, "For years I've been a media target for racism and paid a heavy price. For now I want no part of it. I'm stepping away." Now, this resignation comes as a shock to many. Stan is, of course, a veteran reporter, a proud First Nations man, an Aussie icon, and he's been on our screens for years. But he's been in this job on Q&A for less than 12 months. You might remember that Hamish was previously the host, and he stepped away for reasons of social media abuse as well. That was a factor for him, and Stan's decided not to return after tonight's program. And as you say, Amanda, the most recent example of the kind of abuse that Stan is referencing has been the response to the commentary that came during the coronation recently. So the ABC hosted a panel before the coronation, hosted by Julia Baird. Stan Grant was on the panel with Craig Foster, Liberal MP Julian Leeser, and they were discussing different perspectives on the monarchy. So he was invited to that panel to talk about what the monarchy represented for him as an Aboriginal man. And soon after it aired, the panel drew numerous complaints from sections of conservative media. I think that that's worth pointing out, that media monitoring actually picked up that over 150 mentions had come from The Australian and Sky News, headlines that included the ABC's royal rant, ABC's coronation coverage, but essentially an attack specifically on that Stan Grant moment. And this was, I also want to point out, 30 to 45 minutes of coverage in an 8-hour broadcast of coronation discussions.
A lot of people felt it wasn't the appropriate time to discuss the negative side of King Charles being crowned. Something really interesting I've been reading here, an article by Sean Kelly in the Herald this morning. And he said, let's remind ourselves here, the monarchy is not a musical. It's the ultimate power in our land. It's an institution that this country voted to retain 24 years ago as part of our system of government. We might think it's entertainment, but we're kidding ourselves. Those watching the coronation were watching a political act. And it was Stan's bravery, in a way, to point that out. And if we just want to see the frou-frou and the pretty, we're missing a major point of it.
Yeah.
And we've vilified Stan because of it.
And this attack on everyone sort of latches onto this idea that everyone who works for the ABC must be impartial, must be unbiased, can't have an opinion on anything. And to ask a First Nations Australian not to tell their story, share their truth, especially if it's to do with pain and colonialism, that to me isn't a political act. It's not a political thing for Stan Grant to sit on that panel and speak of the hurt that happened to his family.
He also felt that the ABC didn't back him, that he was kind of thrown to the wolves because the ABC invited him on as a guest and haven't backed him, but they have now, which is a bit late.
Yes, so this is one of the big talking points of this whole thing, is that Stan said in this article that no one at the ABC whose producers invited me onto their coronation coverage as a guest has uttered one word of public support. Not one ABC executive has publicly refuted the lies written or spoken about me. I don't hold any individual responsible. This is an institutional failure. And you're correct, Amanda. Obviously, since then, the ABC Director of News, Justin Stevens, has come out and condemned it. A lot of senior leadership at the ABC has similarly come out and defended Stan, but it feels like a sad day when a veteran journo is walking away.
He's a pretty serious insect, old Stan. We've had him on our show a few times, and he is a very serious insect. When you go on those shows, I've noticed that you get absolutely no feedback from anyone. They put you on there, you do your bit,
Yep.
and you look around and you say, I guess it was all right,
Yeah.
because you're back next week. But my
Exactly,
point is,
that's the feedback.
no one gives you any feedback until it goes bad.
Yeah.
And I would say, I didn't watch the ABC coverage of the coronation, but at the time I thought, well, why the hell are they doing this? Why have they got Stan on there? But if he's as a guest giving his opinion, that's the ABC, in a way, being impartial, covering all bases.
That's right. And if you want to see the frou-frou, other networks were showing the frou-frou.
You can watch Koshi.
Yeah, and there was plenty of frou-frou. It wasn't, it wasn't like 8 hours of let's slam the idea of the monarchy and our participation in it. I think I want to point out this point from Stan in his article where he said that, he'd offered truths and they were hard truths, but they're not told with hate. He's offering these truths with love. It's the same love that inspired my grandfather, a Wiradjuri man, to fight in World War II for a country that didn't recognise his full humanity. My grandfather, who kept by his bed the Bible, the works of Shakespeare, a Wiradjuri man who knew that he had a place in the world. So I think that everyone needs to remember that this is a man who has a story and a past. And
as he said, this is being amplified at the moment, as is the vitriol, because whether we like it or not, he says we're being asked to judge our First Nations people when we're coming up to the vote for the voice. He feels that this is actually fracturing us in a harsh way too.
I agree with him.
But what a terrible thing to be losing Stan Grant.
We don't lose Stan. Come back, Stan. We love you. We'll find a place for him here, surely. Can you do something around here?
You can catch him at 9:30 tonight on Q&A.
There you go. The last
for
one for Stan. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Emma Wasabi. I was going to say Emma Gillespie.
Emma Wasabi.
That's your new FM
My
name.
Wikipedia name.